Just wanted to give you a quick update here. A new day in the shop, working on the Passport. Last episode we got the engine out, transmission out, transfer case, all the drive lines. There's a bunch of parts and pieces to the engine, mounts, starter, heater core hoses, oil filter housing. It is important to me to get all this cleaned up, and I don't want to go through and manually try to wipe every surface down. I just feel it would make me feel better to be able to hose it. And I don't want to go and mess up any electrical connections by blowing water into it. So I'm going to go around, and I already got these disconnected here. I got this, came off with one clip up there. Honestly, the only thing holding it in at this point is basically those freaking O2 sensor electrical connectors back there. So I might just get this whole engine harness out. Cap any of the other plugs that are still hanging out with some tape real quick. Hit this thing with degreaser. And finally get it clean looking the way I want it to. And then once this is clean, I can tackle. There's some connections on my engine harness that were looking pretty bad, and it's all wrapped in shit. I might go through and spruce this thing back up as well. And just like that, a couple more clicks, this whole engine harness can come out. So a couple of quick notes about this engine harness. Well, I got it out, I guess. So all the way down here, these are the transmission plugs, the rear O2 sensor plugs, the front O2 sensor plug, shift controller, sensor. I'm trying to break it now. And then this goes up. This is where it connects to the firewall. This is where it goes up and underneath the intake manifold, which is dumb. And then there's these two banks that run around and control the ignition coils and the injectors. And this one for the other bank. It's out now. Isn't that wonderful? Alright, so I finally went and got myself some bolts to mount my engine to the engine stand. But I gotta get this clutch off first. Well, I ain't no expert. Sorry to disappoint you. But here's my clutch disc, and it is long gone. There ain't nothing left on this thing. It was worn all the way down to the metal. Yeah, wow. This thing is toast. I should have known, because all of this came out of my transmission bell housing. This whole thing is caked with engine oil and probably power steering fluid and fiberglass from this clutch. See if I can find a brand here. I don't know, there's some little symbol right there. You can't see it though. I know the stock one is some Exity. Yeah, this doesn't say. It's all purple from, I don't know. Anyway, since it probably wore into the clutch housing, it's got this. It's all warped. It's not looking good. Gonna need probably to replace this whole thing. That's $400 at least. If I gotta replace that, there's a good chance I gotta replace this flywheel too. Looking pretty cooked as well. It's unfortunate. I was really hoping to get away with not having to replace this, because the person I bought it from said this is the most recent maintenance they did. The clutch felt good. They might have had it bled or something, but they definitely didn't replace it. I was kind of thinking maybe they did, because the engine mounts were finger tight, and not so great news. Might need to order a flywheel and a clutch. Full package. Alright, so I'm in the process of getting this flywheel off. My impact driver isn't strong enough to break these loose, which is unfortunate. You know, I gotta find a way to pin the flywheel, and I was looking around my scrap pile, and I just so happened to find this guy right here. This is some old, probably like some sort of buckle strap for a horse saddle or something, I'm not sure. I can modify that to thread into those teeth, and it's gonna need to come down a little anyway, so I gotta get that. I can get this threaded in there. There's threads there. And I can get it on these teeth. So I'm gonna work on getting that to fit. That way I can get these off and I can get it on the engine stand. There it is. It's a journey. And then I'll have a flywheel removal tool for the Passport anyway. Alright, that didn't take too long. This is what I ended up with here. They didn't fit perfectly in each groove as I would have liked, so I just kind of stick that on there. That holds a tooth, this holds it flat, and I got that lined up nice and good. Just took one of the bell housing bolts and thread it in there. And we'll see if that's enough to break these flywheel bolts loose. I have it on 2 jack stands underneath here and here. And I got the block of wood support in the rear. I got it obviously still hung by the hoist. And I just need to be able to get some torque on these bolts. So mainly this one will hold me in place here. I should be able to get enough torque on these bolts now with the engine all supported. All right, broke them all loose, zipped them out. Flywheel just slid right off. Mine has a little bearing right here. Feels pretty good. Not too much play. My seal is definitely leaking. All this was leaking. I couldn't even try to pinpoint. It definitely was leaking from there. You can see the runs. And then it either gobbed up all around here or the seal here was leaking as well. All this was just bad. It was gunked up with clutch material. And hey, my thing worked really good. Proud of that. One of those things where it's like you should probably just throw that away, and I threw it in a pile and I was looking at this and was like, man, that might work perfect. And sure enough, here's the flywheel. She's all scored up. I don't want to have to replace it. I'll see what they say about just using this as is. One step closer to getting it all cleaned up. Now I can mount the engine stand. All right, we finally got this bad girl up on the engine stand. Anyway, here's a look at all the sensors. Don't ask me which one it is, I can figure it out, but it's on the front. It's got bare wire showing and they're all crusty, so I'm gonna replace that one. This is probably the water temp or pressure, probably temp. That one looks okay, I don't know. This one is vacuum maybe. That was the relief. This one over here is super crusty. Something's held in by that bracket down there. I'm all sniffly because I got allergies going. Yeah, I think I'm gonna replace that one. Depending on how much they are, I'm just gonna try and replace as many as I can. They were all working, before I got to it, so that one looks okay, it's just crusty. Anyway, now I can finally get this out of the way so we can get the Passport back in. I'm gonna wheel this outside, hit it with the degreaser, and power wash all the grease off this. All right, moving right along here. I got all the sensors off of the engine. I got the Passport pulled back in the garage. This is the stuff that's been cleaned. Got the transmission up on my metal table here. She's gonna need to get the degrease treatment and power wash as well. But we're gonna focus on the engine first. I still need to plug all the holes, at least a little bit. Some of these sensor holes that go into the block, I probably don't want to spray a bunch of water down in there, so I'll block those off. What else do I got? I got a hole there. We got a hole there. We got this electronic sensor to get out still. Got her all plugged up. Well, there she is, all degreased and power washed off. Man, there ain't nothing like a good power washing with something that was absolutely filthy. Someone had painted this valve cover and I got all the paint off. This valve cover is a different color entirely. Feeling pretty good about it, honestly. It all came off real good. It was all splooged up with extra sealant. A couple of my covers blew off, but whatever. Probably all got water in them, but not as much as they would have. They're all splooged up like this. I didn't even get all this off. Anywho, it was nice having this engine stand. Was able to roll it over, get each side real good. I was definitely missing some spots if I hadn't rolled it over. Anyway, that's about as clean as I care to have it. Whatever I can get done with the power washer is all I'm really looking to do. I'm not gonna go scrubbing on this. It's clean enough. It's gonna get dirty again. Anyway, I'm gonna roll it over once, let all the water drain out. I'm gonna do something to help the shifter, but really this thing is just getting cleaned up and get thrown right back in. So depending on how much these two sensors are, I might replace those in too. This thing is just caked. It'll be looking real good here in no time. I don't even know what color this thing is. I just thought it was black, but my engine turned out to be silver. Covered all the electrical ports. Covered all the shifter hole and this manual transfer case hole and this whatever sensor hole. We're gonna shine this thing up real good. Sun is shining today. We got ourselves a freshly power washed MUA 5, something like that. I don't know. And I'm probably gonna hit it one more time because there's still some grit and grime on there. Probably needs it the most in here, but this is where I'm the most weary of squirting. Look at that. It's everywhere. This whole thing was caked, and it's pretty clean now. So. Alright, so there she is. Did it one last time. Try to get any chunks out. Tried real hard to avoid hitting the input shaft, forcing water in there. There's still some gunk, but pressure washer did a real good job. Especially on the outside, this thing looks new. Which, I mean, it's a transfer case, so it should clean up real nice. And it did. Anyway, I'm going to drag this thing back inside, and I can finally focus on tearing the engine down. Well, that's all for today's episode. Consider checking out some of my previous episodes. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing so you can join us next time when we continue tearing this engine down so we can give it the refresh it deserves. Thanks for joining us.